Hi, I'm Talia. I'm a postdoc in the bioengineering department in Carl Dyser-Ross Lab.
I'm Mary Kavanagh. I'm also a postdoc in the immunology department under Yilkaronsi. My interest in the course is to do with my interest in gender balance in everything, not only in sciences, but in the arts and the humanities, areas where men are underrepresented. I'm also interested in diversity in general, so not only gender imbalance, but also imbalance based on ethnicity, socioeconomic status. And I wanted to learn more about the literature behind these things.
I've talked a fair amount with people about gender bias at various points in my career, but it was interesting to have an opportunity to get a little bit more into the social science literature addressing what the issues are, what the actual science says about what's going on, and also at this point in my career, being postdoc is sort of one of the leakiest parts of the pipeline for women in STEM, and so I feel like maybe some of the issues are sort of more starting to personally affect me. So I think, as has been discussed in the course a lot, much of the sort of explicit gender bias barriers were broken down really by our mother's generation. I went to Yale for undergrad, and my mom couldn't have gone to Yale for undergrad because they didn't let in women when she went to college. So there have been a lot of explicit barriers broken down, but I think the ones that are left are much more implicit. And that makes it hard to know even if you're being discriminated against, but it doesn't mean you aren't being discriminated against. And so I think it was interesting to sort of, through some of these readings, become more aware of some of the issues that might have been sort of affecting me all along that I wasn't even necessarily super cognizant of.
Yeah, I think it's something you get more aware of as you get older. I don't know if you're just so full of enthusiasm when you're young that you don't really notice these things that are going on. And it's only when you're at this stage, like you say, we're sort of at the stage now where you're making a real decision about your career. Up to this point,
yeah,
it's been a bit more fluid, or things have been a bit more flexible. And now you're faced with these decisions, and you have to think about the kind of workplace that you want to spend the rest of your life in, essentially, and that then starts to make you notice certain things about different kinds of workplaces and who is accepted and who is not.
Well, being one of the few women in an advanced math class or things like that, which I have been at various points in my life, is you feel both proud to be there, but then also a little bit intimidated, or you feel a lot of pressure having to sort of represent your gender instead of just your own personal self. And so I think that actually is probably the biggest thing where I feel like I've experienced maybe not even bias, but just sort of general pressure. It really seemed like everyone was participating. And the small group breakdown structure of the class, I think, worked really well in terms of some of the girls that I noticed were very quiet in the whole class. We're talking in the small groups of 3 or 4. So I definitely noted that in terms of just even thinking about any kind of teaching I do in the future, thinking about the way that you break groups down to get people to participate. It was well done.
I think my favorite paper that we discussed in the class was the ambient belonging paper. So this idea that stereotypical cues, not even gender stereotyped cues, but subject stereotyped cues, can affect people's interest in a subject. So again, as a scientist and a teacher, that's something that you need to consider, is that even something as simple as changing the decoration of a room can have a huge impact on the people who say that they're interested in the subject.
I actually also found that one of the most interesting things. It really made me think a lot more about the environments that I work in.
And I don't think that gender imbalance should be viewed as a female problem, because it isn't. Diversity issues are a problem for everyone, because you're essentially taking traits that are irrelevant to what you want in someone you're hiring or a student you're mentoring, and you're letting those irrelevant issues get in the way of your science or your research or your whatever it is you're doing. And that's going to hold you back. So I think the important thing for all of these issues is to recognise that the point of equity is it's not just about fairness, it's not just about justice, and hopefully we all care about these things, but it's also about getting the best people to do the jobs that we need to be done to help move society forward.